Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and today it is time for a best of 5 series of professional Starcraft 2. Spawning here in the top left hand corner of Kairos Junction LE, and playing with the blue Zerg drones. I really haven't casted a lot of games of this man in quite some time, but I always enjoy doing so because his nickname is Mr. Creative for a reason. For the longest time, he used to play these very creative, unorthodox strategies, and somehow, some way, he made it work. Nowadays, though, he does favor playing that much more macro-focused game as well. We are currently looking inside of the main base of the German Zerg, who goes by the name of TLO. Now, I do have the feeling that he's gonna have a very tough opponent going up against him right now. The Terran player here, playing with the red Terran SCVs, is one of the strongest players to ever touch StarCraft 2. He's from Mexico, and he goes by the name of SpeCial. Widely considered to be one of the very best Terran players in the world. Definitely one of the very best Terran players outside of Korea, with obviously players like, for example, Hero Marine and Euthermal being way up there as well. SpeCial is most definitely amongst them. Now, I guess the reason why I haven't really seen a lot of TLO games is because there's a lot of other Zerg players, in particular in Europe. What is he doing? Is this an extractor trick? I don't think so. There's a hatchery going down as well as a spawning pool already. Okay, this is a quick roach play. Haha, I guess he's going double gas here to be able to go for a couple Zerglings and then follow it up with Ravagers? I'm not entirely sure, we'll see. But the thing is, in Europe in particular, which is where TLO is obviously from, although I believe nowadays he lives in Canada. But anyways, in Europe in particular, there's a ton of Zerg players. In Korea, there's a lot of Terrans. In Europe, there are tons and tons of Zergs. And to match up with the likes of a Zero or an Elaser or a Raynor, there's a ton of great Zerg players in Europe. It's just simply very, very hard to get to that point. Now, I love this actually. Mr. Creative is back at it. So here's the thing. If you go for the Zerglings early on and you actually show them to the Reaper is not gonna, oh my god, TLO. The Reaper's not gonna go across. Couple of links are now sneaking off to the left-hand side. That means that these roaches that are currently coming out are completely unscouted. This is the kind of stuff that TLO did in 2010. Now, the thing is, though, it does look like SpeCial does know that something's up. He must have seen that there were 4 Zerglings. Well, if that's the case, though, if the Reaper is inside of the main and it will scout out right now that indeed roaches are at play, it is gonna slow down the production of that command center, and as long as somehow, some way, the SCV continues getting killed, SpeCial is gonna have a very hard time getting that base up. This is exactly what TLO became so very well known for back in 2010. He's been playing StarCraft since the very, very beginning, at the very least StarCraft 2 since the very, very beginning, and he's been playing these weird, unorthodox playstyles. Nowadays, he usually plays a lot more standard, but, well, I guess this works. You know, imagine if the Reaper just simply stayed at home to defend, right? To try and catch those other 2 Zerglings, because that was Liquid TLO putting on like a masterclass of acting there, trying to prevent his opponent from even knowing that the Ravagers were being produced. What a sick style. Anyway, SpeCial did get himself that bunker up. Already, though, a lot of damage is being taken. TLO is going to morph into Ravager at the last possible second. A Cyclone is coming up as well, and I'm looking at this, and I'm not entirely sure how well this is going to go for our Zerg player. Then again, though, the bunker was killed. The command center did finish up. 4 SCVs going down so far. And actually, hold that thought. This may very well... Oh my god, look at the micro. This may very well actually be doable here for TLO. Well, the Cyclone is out, though. That lock-on ability, obviously, very, very powerful. And TLO certainly did slow himself down quite a bit with this push. Only just now did we see Zergling, or only right now do we see Zergling speed coming up. And while SpeCial is going to be in a very rough position right now, he does have the second orbital command, so he can really start landing a lot of mules as well. At this point, though, SpeCial can't really scout. He doesn't know if there's going to be like a third hatchery follow-up, if TLO decided to pull the drones out of gas, and if he's trying to just transition towards a macro game. At this point, oh, look at that. We see a Baneling Nest coming up and tons of Zerglings as well as Zergling speed. Usually after a Ravager opener like this, oh my god, if these Cyclones get caught, that's game. But usually after a Ravager opener like this, Zerg was kind of up against, they were kind of going all in with that. Oh my god, Link Speed is going to finish here in a sec. He's going to get this around. Yeah, there's no way. Well, he wants to be careful, apparently. If he gets this around on these, though, and somehow, some way, the Ravagers manage to get into this combat as well. I think that's what they're trying to do right now. If these things die, there's nothing ready to defend against this. Now, good target firing right there by SpeCial, trying to get himself at the very least one of those Ravagers, but this is gonna hurt quite a bit. Already though, a siege tank is up on the high ground. Banelings are being morphed in right now. That's 6 of them in total. This is completely scouted by SpeCial, so he knows what's up, but that siege tank can certainly help out, and the second one is just about to join in as well. I love what TLO is doing here. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Oh my god, I'm looking at this. This is like watching a game from 2010 once again. Keep in mind, this is pretty much completely all in for TLO. No high ground vision, and sure, a lot of these units do end up going down and the wall was blown up, but SpeCial does still have a lot of mining SCVs, and indeed, SpeCial is gonna be the one who obtains the victory here in game 1. I mean, the simple fact that the Terran player here had 37 workers versus 23 from Zerg, it's just too much. In particular with obviously only 2 hatchery production and 2 mules coming down at once. SpeCial would just be able to transition towards a macro game super easily, and TLO was up with his back against the wall. But still, I love what he was doing there. Alright, so here we are. Blue Shift LE for game number 2. Now, I was just curious. TLO has been on Team Liquid for a very, very long time, but I wasn't entirely sure since when. So let me get this straight. He joined Team Liquid on the 26th of July, 2010, which was literally right after Wings of Liberty released, and he has been on the same team ever since. Now, ironically, SpeCial, he has been on a whole list of teams. He first off got started in 2011 on Root Gaming, then he joined 6jax, then Check 6 Gaming, then back to Root Gaming, then he left Root Gaming and later on joined once again. Then he joined 8 Team, then back to Root Gaming, then Apocalypse Esports, Invasion Esports, Prophecy Esports, Exceed Esports, Predator Esports, and now he is on X10 Esports, which I believe actually is a renamed version of Predator Esports, although I'm not entirely sure. Regardless though, he certainly has been through a fair share of team switches, and likewise, he actually also switched his nickname many times. In case you guys are unfamiliar, if you watched back in the day, and once again, by the way, we do have that quick spawning pool, but if you watched Starcraft back in the day, SpeCial used to go by the name of Major, but he also switched like every 2 months. He has been under the name SpeCial for a really long time right now, though, and I do think it's pretty silly to change your nickname all the time, because, you know, a lot of people are familiar with Major, but don't know that SpeCial is actually the same person, you know? In particular, when you're playing an esport where most players' faces are just simply hidden so often. Anyways, once again, TLO is doing something a little bit odd, right? He loves playing these weird strategies, apparently. So, here's the thing. In 2011 to like 2013 or so, he played these unorthodox styles all the time. People called him Mr. Creative. And while he certainly was still playing those strategies a little bit as well over the last few years, there's no denying that he has transitioned to become a lot more of a macro-focused, quote-unquote standard Zerg. And I think the reason for that is mostly that a lot of opponents just simply have gotten very good. They know what the cues are that they have to look for, and oftentimes they will just simply be able to get that information. Now, SpeCial is sending the Reaper through this little area over here and now through the center. These links are completely unscouted. If you manage to get 6 links, your opponent's natural at this point in the game, sure you can have 1 Marine, but that command center is going to be in a lot of trouble. Right now, the Reaper manages to get across. It doesn't see any mining here, so he should return back home right now. He may just wait for one of those to finish, but already you can see the Zerglings going to town. 2 of them are split off to go after the Marine. This is all things considered a very safe opener for SpeCial, but normally you go up against like 2 to 4 Zerglings in the early game. In this case, it is going to be 6. That command center needs to be kept alive. Reaper though should be able to return back home here in just a second. Marine looks like it will end up dying, but already a lot of SCVs have actually gone down. That's 5 SCVs in the grand scheme of things. Excellent micro as well by TLO, keeping a lot of those Zerglings alive to the very last moment. And the Reaper, while it did clean up this mess, certainly did have its work cut out for him. That was really rough, actually. A lot of losses already on the side of SpeCial. Losing 5 SCVs at this point in the game, plus a delayed command center, is enormous. TLO now, though, looks like he wants to transition towards a very normal game. Now, guys, I know I've been fanboying over this strategy a lot already, and I know he lost game number 1, but I love the way that he's following us up right now. So, once again, we see something that we normally do not have at this point in the game. It's a quick overlord speed. Now, I know that some of the Some of the other Zerg players, I know that, for example, Raynor has been doing this quite regularly, do like going for Overlord speed as well. But I can't help but wonder if this is maybe for something a little bit different, or maybe TLO just really wants to be sure of his scouting information right now. A couple Hellions, though, coming across. I'm not entirely sure if I agree with those. Yeah, they're not really going to be able to get that much done. Only 4 Zerglings there initially for TLO, and they already got shut down, obviously with the use of those queens as well. SpeCial essentially donating a couple of those units. That's not what you want to do at this level. Anyways, Overlord speed did finish here. So look, the command center, or rather the, well, the lack thereof, right? The third command center has not been started yet. And the Overlord did just see that there is indeed a starport as well. What? Wait, hold up. What? Did he just end up... Wait, hold up. So I was just saying, I guess everything got scouted perfectly. I just went back into the game for a little bit. Maybe these 2 Hellions ended up dying as well, and they didn't really get anything done. Yeah, I guess SpeCial felt as if he just simply... he couldn't come back into this. Already, Zerg was at 3 bases, but that certainly has been a situation SpeCial must have been in before, right? I'm personally never that big of a fan when people leave games where they are definitely not out of it just yet. I mean, there's obviously an argument to be made that you don't want to be playing a lost game if you're playing a best of 5 series. You don't really want to be caught up mentally in game number 2, and you don't want to get exhausted from playing a lot of those matches, because obviously if it goes on for another 10-15 minutes and you're just simply behind the entire time, it can be morally defeating, but I don't know. I personally do like it when players decide to fight until the bitter end. Over in Korea, there's a player who goes by the name of Fantasy. He did the same thing in Starcraft 1 as well. But there's this meme where people talk about the Fantasy GG timing. He is very, very well known. And by the way, TLO, going for a hatchery first? What is this? But he's very well known for the Fantasy GG timing, where he just simply fights until the very bitter end. Which I think I personally do prefer. Sometimes he does push it a little, though, so he's, like, fighting and microing his last 2 Marines and 1 medevac against, like, a 7-base Zerg, and it doesn't really do very much. Yeah, I guess on the very opposite end of that spectrum, we had a player back in the day who went by the name of Idra. I was a big fan of Idra in particular. But he had one of his biggest errors oftentimes was just leaving games super early. In some cases, he was either very, very far ahead, or he had even almost won without him realizing it. There's a lot of famous stories about that. But he would leave super early. And yeah, that obviously wasn't particularly productive either. I guess most people just sort of sit out until they cannot win the fights anymore, right? And I guess SpeCial did certainly still have a chance in that previous game. I mean, obviously he has played thousands and thousands of games. You'd imagine that he had won at least like a couple hundred of those, right? Even if it's just like 20% of the games is won from that point on. I guess that's still worth playing out. Anyways, can't really critique him too much. I understand that you don't really want to play a game where you're super far behind already. But let us see where this game is going to take us. Very normal opener here so far by SpeCial. If you're a Terran player, you probably want to take a build that SpeCial is doing right here as well. Playing super orthodox, going for that command center quickly on the low ground. Quick Reaper, Marine here for safety purposes, then a factory follow-up. Likely a reactor here in just a second. There we go. And this is super, super normal and super, super standard. Now with perfect play, that drone actually was hiding over here, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't see it leave until just now. Usually the Reaper will try and go after that. But if you have perfect micro and perfect control and really good reading in the early game, the build that SpeCial is playing here is technically good against everything. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of Terran players will end up playing this kind of style. Obviously, you do have to make sure that you scout really well and you have to micro really well as well. But on paper, if you practice this kind of style enough, you should be able to stop pretty much all of the Zerg's early game aggression. The starport, though, has already been constructed right now. Is there going to be a tech lab? Looks like that will be the case. SpeCial, very well known for playing the super orthodox style. I'm curious to see if he's going to play bio or mech. Not entirely sure which of the two he favors right now. And that's the nice thing about this 1-1-1 opener, 1 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. You can transition in either direction very, very easily. You can make a wide variety of Terran units already. And yeah, there's a lot of... Look at this, for example, right? Going for a Marauder right now? Didn't expect that. He's actually rallying it to the back. This might very well be something a little bit cheeky here from SpeCial as well. Yeah, concussive shells now coming up. Huh. Not something we usually see at this point. Now, TLO actually decided to leave his overlords on these little high grounds. He's not getting overlord speed this game either, so he will be completely in the dark. He's gonna use, oh my god, he's instead gonna use a lot of these Zerglings to try and get some damage in instead. These Zerglings poking up on this ramp would actually be super useful as well. A couple SCVs do end up going down here. He needs to get a scout off though. He doesn't know what's going on right now. I kind of feel like he needs to send a, yeah, he tried to right there. You see that? He tried to like split off a Zergling to check up on the top of the ramp. I think if he would have done so, he would have known for a fact that there were gonna be upgrades coming here in that tech lab already. But right now, these Marauders are completely hidden from sight. And while TLO did end up killing 3 SCVs there, not entirely sure if that's really worth it. He's now forced to make blind spore crawlers, which is obviously 3 drones going down. Plus on top of that, the cost of the spores. It's quite expensive to go ahead and do so, just blindly, in case it is gonna be like a Banshee or a Liberator. I mean, I personally always advise players to do so. I usually do so myself pretty much every single game. But obviously when you play at like 6.5k MMR plus, which is where these guys are playing, I guess somewhere along those lines anyway, you know, every little bit counts. Every little bit counts. By the way, we do now see Cloaking Field coming up, so maybe SpeCial does have something weird in mind. Regardless though, the Marauders are here and they are being utilized to slow down those Queens. I love it. The Queens that were used for the creep spread are now being utilized, you know, by these Marauders instead. They're always ahead of the rest of them. And while I guess these spores are now going to slow down this Terran army a little bit, the Banelings are not done just yet. 7 of them are being morphed in right here on the right-hand side of the natural, but this is a scary amount of Terran. Even that Viking now landing to pack a bit of a punch here as well. A lot of Zerglings already sacrificing themselves, but it all comes down to these Baneling connections. They have to go on top of the Hellbats. So far, good connections, actually. That could have gone way, way worse. A lot of Zerglings are now coming up as well. The Queens and reinforcing units should eventually be able to clean this up. But that was certainly a fight that I really, really liked there for SpeCial. I think with a little bit more luck and maybe just a little bit more of a dedicated focus, he could have actually done a lot more damage there. He spent, I don't know, like a good 10 seconds fighting 2 spore crawlers there, which is nice, I suppose, but that doesn't really do very much, right? That doesn't really achieve that much. Now, one pesky little Hellion might actually be getting some kills here. Good drone micro so far. Actually, I love the fact as well, like I was complimenting SpeCial a lot right there, but I love the fact that TLO decided to immediately send those spores to the low grounds, right? Didn't really expect that to happen. I wonder if he has them hotkeyed. I guess he may have hotkeyed them. Because you usually don't do that, but I guess in this case it did work out. Now that Cloaking Field though, that certainly is an interesting follow-up as well. I guess the Spore Crawlers were remade just in case there was gonna be that Banshee follow-up, which in this case, apparently it is. Only just now a lair, by the way, so that's a super late lair. But I guess we are in a relatively even mid-game right now. SpeCial transitioning towards additional factories. He's got himself that 3rd command center coming up as well. Much later than you normally would expect it. Normally this 3rd command center in like a macro game gets started up at like 4.5 minutes. So in this case, I mean, obviously we're 7.5 minutes into the game. It's just about to finish. That is going to be quite a painful economic disadvantage right now here for our Terran player. Curious to see where TLO is going to take this. So rather than going for the much more orthodox Hydra style, it looks as if he's gonna go Mutaling Bane. I almost said Hydraling Bane there just because I've said that so many times over the last few years, but I guess he's gonna go for Mutalisks, Zerglings, and Banelings. Now, we do see a mech-based army coming up here for SpeCial. Mutaling Bane, in theory, is not bad against this. I have actually seen a lot of Thors in the past that completely shut down any kind of Muta play. However, nowadays, obviously, they are a little bit more useful. Fort Hatchery, by the way, not being finished just yet. Is there an Overseer? Yeah, there's a couple of them coming up right now, although one Queen will certainly go down. Maybe a second one as well. Ooh, well, I guess at the cost of one Banshee too. The thing is, this is going to be a Cyclone-based army, and how many Terran players are going to expect Mutas right now? The Spire is done. It is completely unscouted. 12 mutas are started up right immediately. And at this point, there is no anti-air really for special. Most, like what I was saying, right? Most Zerg players right now will opt to go for a focus on Hydralisk, Zergling, Baneling. Just because on paper, mutas aren't very good. But if you don't make missile turrets, and you really only have cyclones for anti-air, this is going to be a very, very scary unit composition to deal with. Still though, I guess they're going to be showing themselves right now, so they should give at the very least some time for special to prepare some of these missile turrets. Immediately, we also see an armory being added on. But these mutas, though, they're going to be able to clean everything up just fine. And by the way, there wasn't even an engineering bay just yet, so special only just now getting that. This does mean that TLO actually has a lot of wiggle room to potentially deal some damage. Yeah, immediately we see the Banshee going across, trying to maybe buy some time here for these defenses to come up. There's still that Widow Mine as well. SCV's already being used here for repair. But now that all of the Hellions are gone as well, the Zerglings are going to be able to make their way towards that mineral line with ease. And they're going to go after those workers. Keep in mind, Cyclones are not cheap units. Contamination being used on the factory to try and shut down some of those Widow Mines as well. But the defense for special, yeah, well, I was going to say it was half decent, but that still is 24, 25, maybe even more SCVs going down in the grand scheme of things. There is still no defense here for special's mineral lines. He just simply did not expect the mutas, and that completely cost him so much economy. That completely shut down all of this. I mean, sure, 4 orbital commands is nice, but on the back of this, TLO is sitting on 4 fully mined bases. That is... that is gonna be rough. I mean, sure, you can try and get some lucky Widow Mine connections, which is wonderful, but more mutas decide to join the fray, and TLO does win this match. Once again, Mr. Creative coming up with something unorthodox, which is technically a style that was very common in, like, 2010, 2011, but bringing it back in 2019 apparently does catch people off guard. Well, apparently. Game number 4 will take us to Stasis LE. A couple days ago, I uploaded a video where I thought I was gonna cast my final game on Stasis, but apparently that's not the case. In case you want to see that video I just referenced, it's a really good match where Tempest do cause a lot of trouble. I'll go ahead and post a link to it down below in the description of this video as well. It's a really fun match. Would highly recommend you go ahead and have a look. Now, special... Alright. He may be the one that decides to go for something a little bit different this match. 2 SCVs have already moved out, and they are indeed gonna start some barracks up. It has to be barracks. There we go. Barracks number 1. And I think shortly, barracks number 2 as well. Little bit of a risky deal to put him over here, I feel like. Because in the games where I have seen players go on Stasis, and they do play Stasis, a lot of Zergs do opt to go for the gold as their first expansion. But I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be a pool first. Oh my god, TLO going for the pool first. He did go pool first, obviously, in 2 games prior to this already. Special's going to heavily commit, though. Yeah, this is likely not going to be just 3, maybe even 4 or 5 barracks, which I've seen in the past. Very unorthodox. TLO, though, with that pool first, he should have a really... Oh my god, yeah, he should have a really good understanding. Okay, I was going to say, maybe he's once again going to go for the Zerglings and then transition towards the Roachborn and then the Ravagers. If he were to go for that, I think he would shut down this barracks aggression immediately. Instead, though, it is going to be just a single gas... as well as, well, right now there's no command center spotted on the low ground, as well as a couple drones into it. So this is going to be probably just the delayed Zergling speed. Although, I think that right now, a bell should start going off inside of TLO's head. He might be aware of the fact yeah, okay. He might be aware of the fact that something weird is going on, and he does this... What? No! I think he should go roaches. He has got the good idea. He's got the right mindset here. He does see some units moving up here. I think that going roaches and then quick Ravagers really would have helped out. If he decides to go and try and defend the low ground here with Zerglings and just the Queen instead, though, that's going to be a lot of trouble. It is going to be 3 barracks, by the way. Instead, some additional minerals are right now being spent on making a bunker. But if that bunker finishes, this is going to be a very tough position to hold. Keep in mind, the distance on this map from the natural to the main is really long. A creep tumor, by the way, was produced there almost immediately by TLO upon scouting this. So maybe he knows something that I don't. Rather than, by the way, going for the hatchery on the low ground, Special knows that he doesn't have infinite amounts of time. He doesn't know if there's a roach warren or maybe a baling nest or something coming up. He does get himself a lot of kills here on those workers as well as a lot of those Zerglings. Queen's already taken a bunch of damage too. But so far, the damage has been okay. It has been okay. Special, though, he's trying to kite off creep with a couple of those units. And actually, that one creep tumor that was put down by TLO may very well be his saving grace, because he can actually micro against this. Look at that. So many of those Marines end up going down. Special decided to jump into the main base instead. TLO cleans up all of the Marines, and I think, even though he did lose a lot of workers there, that he may still have a shot at this game. Well, it's 21 workers versus 11. That's not a lot. Baling Nest now coming up, link speed just about to finish, drones are gonna go back into the gas. If this transitions towards a macro game, there's no denying Special is really far ahead. But Special, though, he decides to put all of his eggs in one basket, and choo-choo, here come the boys. The boys are in a lot of trouble, though, because the Zerglings made their way across the map as well. They're gonna pick up as many of those SCVs as possible, while also slowing down the reinforcements there towards the other side of the map. More links are currently being produced. TLO looks as if he wants to give up that low ground, which I think is the correct call. If he makes a couple Bane links and he can get a good connection, this certainly is still his game. Special, though, he's not really mining a lot right now. He's got a mule as well as 2 of those SCVs, which is nice. I guess, oh my god, the ramp is down. I guess the Zerglings are gonna instead now head towards the main, give these SCVs a little bit of time, but while this is all going on, the Marines are trying to kill the hatchery on the low ground. I think what TLO is trying to do is use the little, changelings, or rather the brute-lings that come out of the hatchery when it falls in his advantage as well. Great target firing right there, though. Special grabbing each and every one of those banelings, and here are the boys. The SCVs have made their way across the map. But Special, upon losing all of those Marines, decides to tap out, and Liquid TLO manages to win 3-1 in favor over Special. Personally, upon starting this series, I did not really expect that to happen. I really thought that Special would be able to grab this series convincingly. But TLO proving me wrong, showing us some really cool playstyles. I gotta say, the speed at which he responds is really sick. I just want to emphasize a couple moments that really stood out to me. First off, game number 1 with the link cheese into the Ravagers. That was super clever. Usually the Reaper is not going to start scouting if he knows that a couple links might be out on the map, and usually the Reaper gets sent back home, so the Ravagers show up completely unscouted. That I thought was really cool. Game number 3, the one that we saw on Cerulean Fall, where this was an awkward timing that he certainly did not expect. All of a sudden, the Queens got caught off guard by a couple of those Marauders with concussive shells. And the first thing he did after pulling back the Queens that ended up all dying was uproot a couple of Spore Crawlers and send those out towards the low ground to slow down that push. And that gave him enough time to go up towards Banelings, which then ended up connecting and eventually allowed him to defend there. I think if those units would have gone straight up the ramp, that would have been the end, right? Like, that would have been so hard to stop. So Special being delayed right there for just a couple seconds really did buy TLO enough time. And in this game, even though I like the idea of going Roach Ravager, TLO looked at it, he realized what was going on, and he decided to, rather than go for the inject in the main base, to lay down a creep tumor. And that allowed him to eventually get the surround of those Marines. So that was also a really, really clever way of defeating that. Really quick decision making, right? I mean, I would pretty much always autopilot into hitting the inject on the Queen. Instead, though, going for the energy save and then laying down a tumor, I mean, how many players would do that? Such a cool way of playing. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. Also, make sure to click the little bell icon so you get notified on your phone and whatnot whenever a video does go live. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one.